Well, welcome back to Ponderings from Palm Coast. I'm Mark Webb, and today I would like to remind you it's Monday, March 10th, and there are some critical, interesting things happening here in Palm Coast over the next 3 weeks. And we're going to get into all that conversation. But today, I took a moment not to bring in a guest, and I hope you're enjoying these neighbors of yours that are coming in and sharing their views on living in Palm Coast and what's happening politically and other elements. And I hope to bring more in the next many months. I'm committed, and I believe that Suncoast, we are committed to being here to be a source of information of what's happening in our neck of the woods and even further for the foreseeable future, because I don't see this drama ending anytime soon. So one thing that's really been eating up all of my pondering time is a lack of critical thinking. Now, Webster defines critical thinking as the process of analyzing information and forming a judgment. Analyzing information before you make a judgment. I think that we, as a society, have lost that ability. Whether we're listening to news, radio news, the overwhelming amount of information that's just being bombarded to us, and we take it as factual without doing any type of analyzing. There's a couple of great examples, and I heard recently from a gentleman who's running for the 6th district, and he was sharing as a single dad, of which I was for a few years of my life. I had 2 sons, and they were in elementary and high school at the time. And as a single dad, I had to work. I had to support them. So there were hours in the day when they would come home from school and they had to take care of themselves, get a snack, do their homework, and make what I hoped was good decisions. That's critical thinking. And that's what we need to impart. And we need to challenge ourselves. We need to challenge ourselves to say, that sounds real interesting. I need to analyze that more. I need to question what that comes about. And I'll give you a great example of real-time critical thinking happening. On last Friday, City Council meeting, this was not a subject that they planned to bring up, but our mayor at the end of the meeting says, you know what? Excuse me. I've done some analysis of what's going on with our water and sewer and the amount of money that these plants need. And he asked a few questions of his staff, and they truthfully answered him. He made it very clear that he would not support the moving forward of spending $700 million on a water system until we got a hold of the building that's going on here in Palm Coast.
I have no problem with people that own infill lots being able to build on their property. That's excluded. Anything that's in the queue that has been approved, I have no problem with that. But anything going forward, I would say stop it until even if it's until our water is brought up to where it needs to be, because we're in a pinch. So say we spend these millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. to fix our water treatment facility. It's not going to stop there. Once all those houses, once those 19,000 units come online, or whatever the number, depending on rezoning and stuff like that, we are still going to be in the negative. We are not going to, it's not sustainable.
So, Mr. Mayor, I'm trying to understand, just kind of with Councilman, Miller, so what you're proposing is like to date to be determined, we not move forward on westward expansion? Is that what you're proposing?
Pretty much, yes.
That,
We're not going to be permitting new developments out west, because even out there, we can't sustain what we have in the queue now, much less more out there. That doesn't stop us from doing industrial growth, commercial growth. I'm talking about family dwelling units. And right now, they're flooding the zone. I don't know if you guys know it or not, but if you ride up US 1 on the north end, where I live, the land has been raped. It's ready for housing units to go in there. So why are we going to keep putting more houses in the queue when we can't sustain what we have, nor can we sustain what we have in the queue at the present time? And I've already said it, I am not going to be in favor of these bonds on this next vote unless we put in a moratorium. I want that safeguard that says, hey, look, you're not building any more houses in our city until we get this right. So,
Well, then it may.
if not, we're going to be sitting on the deck of the Titanic, and we're going to be raising property taxes or ad valorem to try to cover some of these improvements.
That's critical thinking. That's changing your view, which Mayor Mike voted for it earlier that week, and then became aware of some very interesting stats, one of which was the approval of the 19,000 potential homes over the next 10 years would exceed the capacity of the new system. We're going to spend $700 million to improve our system, but we're going to build 19,000 homes, which is going to impact the new system. I applaud you, Mayor, for being open-minded and aware of the bigger picture. That's what I want to talk about today, because I'm talking to people that are consumed with Trumpisms and Fox information without asking serious questions like, we're going to save $2 trillion through DOGE cutting 100,000 people out of our workforce. Well, that's great. I've got no problem with trying to always look for waste anywhere it is. I don't think there's anybody listening to me now doesn't think that that's not a bad effort. But then the House passed a CR, continuing resolution, which has a $4.5 trillion cap. Now, wait a minute. Let's look at it with our critical thinking eyes. You're going to save $2 trillion in federal government spending to give $4.5 trillion in tax cuts to the top 1%? Is that what you want? Is that what you see as realistic and logical? I take you back to Mayor Mike. You need to think the same way. This isn't a Republican or a Democratic. It's your money. You pay taxes. You spend and buy and live in this country, as I do, and you're concerned about where it goes. I saw a report the other day said the border crossings were as low as they've been in 40 years. Great. We're all for that. That wasn't a political thing. But they're not sharing anything about how many people they're finding already here. and working, cutting your grass, cleaning your dishes, making up your beds at the hotels, or even in some case, your caregivers. We don't hear those numbers. So I want you to ponder these things. I want you to take a breath, to take a beat, and ask yourself, does that make sense? Does that make sense to you? Do you want to see the VA, Medicaid, Medicare, and all these other programs, which if you don't have them, I guarantee you know someone who does, affected so that we can give tax breaks to the rich? I have a document here and I'll get it posted up. It's really interesting. In 1990, there were only like 40 billionaires in the United States. As of 2025, there are over 700 billionaires. Guess what happened to our debt between 1990 and 2025? It went like $7 to $10 trillion through the roof. You and me are supplementing the rich, and you're getting nothing for it. You have no benefit. Your life is not improved because there's a billionaire who lives 25 miles from you. It's not happening. That's the critical thinking I want you to think about today. That is my assignment to you. That is my wish, that we rise above this petty Republican, Democrat arguments that we're having with each other and realize we as Americans, we as citizens of this country are being fooled. We're being scammed. We're being taken advantage of. We're being lied to. So we need to be smart enough. There's little things we can do. We can get involved with our local city politics. We have an empty seat on the Palm Coast City Council. Unfortunately, Ray had to resign, and they are hoping to seat a new city council person by April 15th. That matters. They're going to choose, but we have a voice. We can go up there and tell them what we want to hear, what we want to see. We have an election right here in District 6, April 1st. We have the chance to send someone to the House of Representatives that's going to push back and speak truth and get us back on track. Look, I'm not going to lie. There's a lot of things in this country. I served in the military for 20 years. I could spend hours telling you about things that I think need to be improved. I'm for it. But you don't go into a business with a sledgehammer and fire 90% of the people and then go, oops, oh, we just fired all the people working on the bird flu. We might want to get them back. Or, bird flu, eggs, see the critical thinking there, right? Eggs are expensive because they say the bird flu killed all the birds, and all the scientists that were working to fix the bird flu problem just got fired with an email. Really? This is not right. This is not what we as citizens in this country want. This is not what we want to see. This is not what I want to see. I do want to see the border fixed. I do want to see a method to getting hard-working non-citizens in this country what they deserve. They've been here for many, many years. They're a great add to our society, a pathway forward. They need to be here. We need them to be here. They touch all our lives. I've said this in other podcasts. Again, I'm coming back to critical thinking. The other day, I was sitting in my car. I had just paid my annual car insurance. Surprise, I'm in Florida. I have a 5,000-pound truck. I paid over $1,000 for permission to drive it in Florida. I'm wearing my seatbelt, which is mandated by the laws of Florida. And what pulls up next to me? It is Bike Week here. A couple in a motorcycle with flip-flops, t-shirt, no helmet, riding around. And I thought to myself, is this critical thinking? Oh, and by the way, did you know that insurance is not mandated in the state of Florida for motorcycles? I couldn't believe it. I got a guy right here, no helmet, wearing no safety, flip-flops, may not even have to have insurance, and I'm driving in a car that I just spent all this money with a seatbelt on, mandatory, that's required. That's critical thinking. Sadly, just in the past 4 days here in Palm Coast, 4 motorcyclists have died on our streets, right here in Belterre and a few other places. Obviously, the gentleman and his lady friend on that motorcycle weren't using their critical thinking much as they were riding around on a nice sunny day with no helmet, thinking they were bulletproof. So I struggle with these conversations. And as I go door to door and I'm knocking on them and talking to people, Republican, Democrat, it doesn't matter. They're confused. They're lost. They're afraid. They're fearful of, is my Social Security check going to come in this month? Am I going to be able to get health care next week? My daughter's in special ed at the public school. Is that going to get affected? These aren't the messages that we want to send our fellow citizens. Because I know we care. I know when there's a tornado, people rally to help. People come from all over to help. When the fires happened in California, there were firefighters from all over this country, including other countries, to help out. That's what makes us a great country. That's what makes us America, because we know how to help each other. I recently asked someone who I know is a very giving person and is very passionate about helping people. And I asked him this question. Tonight, when you're driving home and it's dark, you see a car on the side of the road, lights flashing, the warning signs are flashing, but you see he's got a Biden or a Trump sticker on his car. Do you still stop to help him? Do you ask yourself, is that a judgment you're making? And judging whoever's in that car because of a sticker on their car? This is wrong. This is not who we are. This is not who any of us want to be. Because this is the things that made us great. When I traveled all throughout Europe while I was in the military, one of the more consistent things I heard from some of the older citizens, how happy and how thankful they were of America. to come to help them when they needed help. You know, as Zelensky said in a ridiculous conversation with our president recently, this war's not going to touch you, Mr. President. You have an ocean between you. You don't have a dog in this fight. You're not losing lives. Well, you know what? That's happened twice before, and twice before we stepped up and we did the right thing, because that's who we are. That's who we are as Americans, that we help. Are you surprised? Is anyone surprised that we're sending billions of dollars worth of food to starving countries in Africa? Is that really a surprise to you, to think that whether it's Republican, which, by the way, that was started by a Republican president, to give, to support, and to help those that need help? We can't lose that. There's no win to shutting our borders and just taking care of each other. There's no win to fighting with Canada or Mexico. What are we thinking? We have two of the best allies that border our country, and we want to alienate them. We want to say, hey, we don't need you. That's not critical thinking. So that is what I'm asking you to do today. That is what I need you to own up, research, take a moment. We all have the Encyclopedia Britannica right here in your phone that will answer any and all questions. And don't just trust the first place you go to. Trust but verify. Go to at least 3 people, 3 stories, 3 things before you even start to do an analyzation of what's happening. And I think that you will find that you're a patriot, that you're a proud American, that we don't need to make America great again, because we're great. I am proud to be an American. I am proud to have served this country, and I say it to anybody that will hear it. This isn't political. This isn't party driven. This is the fact of, this is where I live my life. I've raised my kids. I have grandkids. We have a future that we want the best for them. So in closing, I want to hear from you. If you subscribe, and please like this podcast so that we can make more of them and grow, but even more so, leave a comment. Let us know how we're doing. Let me know what you would like to hear. Let me know who you would like to hear. I'm willing to talk, see if I can get Mayor Mike on here or any of the other political people we have. Or if you're interested in coming and joining, let us know. We're local. We're going to stay local. And I promise to try to bring a centralist view of what is happening in our community so that we can make better decisions and we can talk to our representatives and to our neighbors. So with that, I just want to thank you for coming by and taking time out of your busy schedule to listen to me. And I am Mark Webb with Ponderings from Palm Coast. So happy Ponderings.